Welcome to In Your Element podcast, where we dive into stories of those thriving in their element. From entrepreneurs, influencers, to chefs, musicians, and community leaders, we explore their journeys, struggles, and successes. I'm Randall Pink
with Alex Grubbs,
and today we're bringing you another incredible conversation
with Mark Borison. This episode's brought to you by Jake Sweeney Automotive.
I get my grind on and my mind strong, I'm working. I clock in when the night's long, so much time gone, but it's worth it. I'm locked in, keep the lights on, got my mind on my purpose. It's working, I flourish, I earned it. Can't tell me I don't deserve it, yeah.
Welcome back. This is In Your Element podcast. I'm Randall Pink.
I'm Alex Grubbs.
And today we have
Mark Borison.
Pleasure to have you. I think it's been a long time coming.
Thank you, by the way.
We've been outside of here a while ago at a couple shows with Gravel Bear.
Yes. Oh, God, I love Gravel.
Shout out to Gravel.
Yeah. Oh, he's the best, dude. Oh, my gosh. And help me. I was not in a bad place by any means, but I had been like kind of stepped away from local music at the time for a little bit. I was still going to shows occasionally, but I just hadn't really like sunk my teeth into anything. But Gravel was instrumental to that. And now, like a lot of those people he introduced me to, I'm doing a lot of stuff with. I have a secret album I'm working on right now.
No
I think this is the first
way.
time I've said it out loud in public. So.
Oh,
dude, we got
In Your
the tea.
Element exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. Here you go, baby. I was like, I had to do it. I was like,
Yeah.
you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll trickle into that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
not.
I'll say whatever. Ask me the question. What's the worst case I do? Dodge it awkwardly, and then you get a good clip.
Yeah.
So, going back to what you do, and obviously you gave us a little teaser of your music, apparently, yeah? So what all do you do?
Everything, unfortunately. I was like one of those multidisciplinary entertainer types. Like I wanted to be, as a kid, I always said, and this is also me showing my age, I wanted to be one of the two Davids. I either wanted to be David Letterman or like David Lee Roth, but I didn't look very good in spandex, so I was like, put me behind the desk. But no, I mean, gosh, yeah, music being first love. I've been a working actor for like the last 12 years now, I think, maybe 13.
Congrats on that.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much. I
congrats.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I actually just recently did something fun here in town too called The Banks. It's a
I
vertical
saw
series.
that.
Yeah, really excited. They gave me a cool little guest spot on that. It was awesome. I had a great time doing it. But a lot of commercial stuff here, a little bit of film and TV. And then the big one, I think, at least locally speaking, that everybody's hyped on is I get to be. The face is maybe not the right explanation, but I'm at least the social media face of Jungle Gym's International
Absolutely.
Marketing.
You
Podcast
totally
host.
are.
Yeah.
I think it depends on how old you are, if that makes sense. Like, if you're online chronically, you're like, that's the new guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The
the
older-
Jungle Gyms guy.
Right. I get it all the time. I love it. Seriously, it actually happened while I was getting coffee today. And I was like, that's so cute. And then she was like, I get the best watermelon there. I'm like, me too.
I bet you get that a lot, too. When somebody walks up, they will recognize you, and they're like, hey, real quick, what aisle is the chips
Oh, yeah.
in?
And I had that. Yesterday I had one. I was just literally, I always joke, it's like a quarter mile from my office to the bathroom. And I'm always getting stopped, sometimes by coworkers. I love it when it's customers. Coworkers, I'm always like, guys, listen. Like, and because I'm doing that, like, I don't have time right now. Hold on. You know what I mean? Because what's happened at that point is I've waited 10 minutes too long to walk to
Yes,
the bathroom.
yeah.
I'm like, no, I can do one more task. And anyway, but a customer stopped me yesterday. We have a lot of international customers, so there's occasionally a language barrier there. So there was a bit of a language barrier in this moment. And he was trying to get me to help get his granddaughter a job there. But then I'm sitting there, maybe it was just as uncomfortable for her, but she spoke like perfect English. I was like, you did not bail me out at all here. And he's like, I was like, realistically, I kind of had to be like, I have a great gig there. I do have a lot of involvement with the company. I don't hire people.
Yeah.
Unless it's for my department, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I was like, I don't really know what to do. They're like, we put in an application. It was just like kind of a situation. I was like, I really don't know. And the whole time I'm just like, I have to pee so bad right now. You know what I mean? I was like, I'd just done like an hour of like drink reviews. I was like, please, I have no. He's like, will you walk us to the front desk? I was like, no. I finally had to be like, no.
It's that direction.
Yeah, I was like, just go there. I was like, they don't care if I come up or not. It won't affect anything. You know what affected this? The fact that your granddaughter that wanted a job did not bail me out at one point in this video. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what you're asking me right now, kind of a thing.
I bet you that took you by surprise. All of a sudden, she started speaking English, and you're like,
Yeah, I was like, wait, what are we doing
should I be
here?
talking to you?
Yeah.
You're the one looking for the job, right?
I know, and like I honestly think she was probably just very introverted. So that was kind of the real take on the situation. But that's not funny to tell you. It's way funnier to be like, what were you thinking? You could have helped. You know?
You could have translated.
It was awesome. So yeah, it happens all the time. It's great. I genuinely love it though.
And speaking of that too, like I'll be like watching TV and I'll be like, hey, there's that guy.
Yeah, dude. I mean, last night, I don't even know this lady really. She's like a nails lady. It was one of those where I was like, I'm going to get a gift for the love of my life and let her get her nails done. That I followed. There was like a mutual friend on Instagram. But the last night, I'm sitting there and she tagged me in a story post. It's like, I'm never skipping this ad. And I'm like, hell yeah,
I saw
dude.
that.
It cracked me up. I was just like, I was saying to someone the other day, they were like, does it ever bother you when people hit you up about this stuff? It's like, no, how could it? This is the one time I can always guarantee someone is excited to either see or talk to me. It's great. It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
This is why everybody does this. They lie and they're like, it's for the art. No, dude. It's for the free appetizers occasionally, and it's for people going like, we love you, in the middle of the salad section of some store. You know what I mean?
That's an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Or in the bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, that has happened a few times too. And I'm just like, nice to meet you. Yes, I'm also washing my hands. But then, because they're watching, I'm compelled to wash my hands even longer. I'm like, yeah, no. There's no story coming out that, like, the Jungle Jim's guys only washes his hands for 7 seconds
They're
and not the full
watching you.
20. For sure. So now it's all the time you have to be like, happy birthday, or whatever song they tell you to sing.
That's so funny. So, working actor for the last 12 years, also a comedian.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a lot of stand-up / almost any. I've done it a couple times. I really do love it. Well, I won't say the rest of that, but I just sometimes when I would get lauded for comedy stuff, a lot of other like more traditional comedians, how should I say, don't take kindly to that. So it's one of those things I'm like, I would love to do this. I feel very gatekept from the action. So then I just, I try to go, all right, what's outside the city? What can I do there? And then I'm like, all right, I'll do this thing in Columbus next weekend instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love doing it. I think being funny is like one of the being funny. I'm not trying to call myself funny, but
You are.
well, thank you. I appreciate it. But like I enjoy it because at the end of the day, it's really not so much about me, but more about like I just like coming into a room and then we're all suddenly having a good time.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Laughing's a great feeling.
Yeah.
We should all want to do
Well,
that.
and you're typically with stand up, you're talking about things that everybody's thinking, but nobody wants to say.
For sure.
And it's like you can let your wall down too and just be like,
Yeah. Like here, it's time to hear the freak show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, I really like hosting gigs kind of in that regard too, because it's like I could do some jokes, but then I'm mostly just kind of guiding the audience. I really like the idea of that, of like kind of curating entertainment, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So I think that's something Gravel and I hit it off on, to be totally honest with you, because like I could see him doing that with music.
Yeah.
And then for me, I was just like, oh, cool. I love this feeling, and I want to do this with all art forms.
Yeah. And I think you could like plug and play what you do, right? From being an entertainer, whether you're a host or a comedian or an actor, right? So how did you get into that? Was that something in high school or was that something afterwards?
I think the biggest thing was, I go back to the Davids again, but it was like I loved going to concerts. I loved the idea of watching these people up there, and I was musically inclined a little bit anyway, so there was that whole angle of like, oh, I could do this too. But for me, I'm in high school in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And back then, I'll say it this way. This is no shame on my parents. They just wanted me to be successful regardless. And they were, I would say, mostly supportive of my entertainment skills. But we lived in a time where our jobs that we have right now were not real things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's very funny to me now. Like, yeah, I host a show in a grocery store. Like, that still, I mean, that doesn't even really exist now. But, like, you get the idea, right? And so for them, I imagine it was like this tough thing. So anyway, it was like this push and pull growing up of like, do I go try to be a rock star for real? Like, is that an option? And then I tried hard for a while, and I was just like, anytime I really found something I was truly passionate about, I would try to figure out like a little of the business side, a little of the creative side, and then kind of see like where could I go in the middle, right? And so I did music for a long time throughout my 20s, and then I got close for a hot second, right? It was so close. It was one of those, I had a chance encounter with Shroom from WBN.
Dude, nice.
It was just so random. I used to work for this gym like right up the road here. And I ran into him at a gas station hawking chicken sandwiches for whatever. And, he's just like excited, dude. He's like got one of those. And I just get to chatting with him for a minute. And I was like, oh, I'm in a band, whatever. And then I sent him a song and he was like, who are you? And then gave me a lot of airplay, which helped a lot. I mean, in like 2008, and that was why I always try to laud him in that. So anyway, what's always happened is like, I'll try something. And I kind of view my life like a highway. And I'm like, oh, cool, music lane's open, hit the gas, right?
Yeah.
And then when that started drying up, I was like, oh, it was really like, just any interpersonal, drama between artists. So I'm like, okay, can I do this as a solo artist? Okay, no, I'm not quite skilled enough technically for that. So then I was like, well, I can do some of my music, but I could also just kind of host this thing and use it as a showcase for other musicians. So we started there. At the time I was in school, I was doing a lot of voiceover work, and I had an audio professor who was always just like, man, you need a talent agent. And I'm like, Mike, I don't know what that even means. We're in Cincinnati. We came from the East Coast. So, like, moving here, it was like, there's no entertainment in the Midwest. And I really didn't know what to do. And so, anyway, I'm sorry, this is a very long story, but
That's all right.
I eventually, years after school, this was 12 years ago, was what now, like 2013, 2014? I finally got linked up. Actually, I love this story. I got linked up with a talent agency here in town. Someone I knew worked for them, like kind of tertiarily at the time. And so they had this event. They had me come out. I had hit him up beforehand, but I had no real credits. I was like, yeah, I do YouTube videos, and I think I'm funny, and I'm good in the room. And he was like, yeah, well, you don't have any credits. I'm not going to meet you. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not doing that. And I was content with my career at the time, so it was fine. I ended up going to an event they hosted like a week or two after the denial, and it was a beer tasting event at the now defunct Rivertown Brewing. I get there. I'm drinking all the high-proof beers, and then his name is Peter. Peter shows up with some friends to support it because it was like a film beer they were doing. And he's like, oh, they introduced me, and I'm a little drunk at this point. So I was like, oh, yeah. No. I know you're like too good to meet me. My bad. And I'm just kind of doing that routine the whole night, and he's kind of getting lightly roasted. And at the end of the night, as I'm leaving, he's like, hey, mate, come to my office. Prepare 60 seconds for me. I was like, oh,
nice.
Shit, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And Peter was amazing. And so, anyway, he was one of those guys. I just wanted to do voice acting. I didn't think I would be on camera. I have, like, actors in my family, but I had seen it be a struggle for them, so I wasn't like, you're struggling in New York City. I'm not going to make any money in Cincinnati, Ohio at the time. And then that turned out to be completely wrong. And I just remember that after I did my monologue for Peter in his office, he's like, I'm going to put you in movies. And I was like, okay. And then literally like a week after that, he put me in a White Castle commercial, and the rest is history. And I've just been doing it ever since. It's been so cool.
That's a great story.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was so fun.
And I like your analogy too about the highway and the lane changes, right? Because I feel like if you're on your way to your passion, right, or you're pursuing your passion, these like little parallels or these lanes in your analogy, they all like, if you didn't go down the music, I feel like you wouldn't maybe have the confidence enough to like do other things that kind of get you where you are today.
I think with the music thing too, I was always a little chatty on stage. So I think there was like aspects of this happening regardless. I think it was just like, I just need to be on a stage with a microphone. I don't have to be the star of this. I'm not like that kind of person at all. But I also recognize I'm really good at setting this up a little bit. So let's play,
Yeah.
What is one of your favorite projects that you've done so far?
Ooh, that is a great question. This is going to sound bad, but I had a lot of fun. We used to just do all these like silly random, the early YouTube days. We had a series I was doing called The Fuck It List.
Oh, I love that.
And it was just fun. It was just, that was a good one. It was kind of around the same time my first podcast that popped off was called Question Mark. And the whole show was a bad advice show. So people would just send in serious questions, and I would give them, me and my friends would give them the worst advice possible.
I love that.
And it was a really fun show. I remember iTunes was really good to us, and when we first launched the show, it was one of the coolest screenshots of my life. Again, showing the timeline and age. So I opened iTunes on my computer, and they had the list of new podcasts that were listed as new and noteworthy that week, and I was like, hell yeah, Oprah just launched her show. Oh, cool, Shaquille O'Neal has a show. And then I'm like, oh my God, that's a picture of me. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
it was like, we didn't even have show art yet. We had one episode ready. It was one of those like funny things. But anyway, I had so much fun doing question mark because I like the absurd. And then the fuck it list was the same idea where it was like, what is something no real human would actually be, 10 minutes of a hit piece angry about? And so like, I think one of our bigger ones was probably the Applebee's episode where I was just tearing down all of like the, like the American chain restaurants. And funny enough, I was thinking about this. Somebody sent me one the other day where one of the bits in it is I called every restaurant an Applebee's. I was like, this O'Charlie's, this is an Applebee's, blah, blah, blah. And there was a TikTok that just popped off like this week where a lady's like, you're responding to, she's like, oh, that's Italian Applebee's.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, shit, dude. Like, I was literally a decade plus ahead of the game.
How do
Yeah.
you know that didn't come from you, though?
You know what? There's the inner struggle to go, that they stole my bit. But then also trying not to have an ego enough to be like, is that, there's so much parallel thinking. out
Yeah.
there. I wasn't making some revelatory statement there. I was just like, yeah, O'Charlie's is also an Applebee's. You know what I mean? But I hope they did.
Somebody watched your stuff and was like, hey, we should shut down all the Applebee's.
Yeah, it really did work for a while. It was so funny when I was like, oh shit, that worked. And I remember even at the time, corporate Applebee's was like responding to the clips, and we're just like, that I'm a little bit like, we made a fake Applebee's commercial in the middle of it.
gosh.
And we were cutting old clips together with like me. I remember I had like a slipper, and we're like making some sort of egg stew in a pan. But I'm using the slipper to flip it. I mean, it was disgusting.
Oh, I'm
I
going
should cut that. I'll find that clip. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because now I watch it. Not that I cringe at it by any means, but it's like, it's old YouTube now,
Yeah.
right? Because of like, it's funny that we've had a platform like that around so long that you can kind of be like, oh, I remember this era. Like angry guy yelling into camera. But I mean, like the highlight ones for me, we did the Applebee's. We also did one on menthol cigarettes. And I was just like, cigarettes make you look cool, but menthols do not make you look cool. And it was just like so silly that you're like, how could somebody genuinely? Well, I think the best part of it was how many people really were like, Mark really is oddly upset about these things. And I'm like, I've been acting, and how do you
Yeah.
really?
It's
It'd
a
be like-
bit.
yeah, it'd be like people who knew me pretty well. They're like, you're kind of being angry on the internet. I was like, are you watching this and really not going like, this might be a joke. This might be a joke. You
Maybe
know?
he's kidding.
The next
Yeah.
outing that you're out, somebody's smoking a menthol cigarette, and they're like, oh, shit, Mark's
Yeah, it's like Mark. Yeah,
And then Mark's coming.
like hide the Newports. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You don't think you can smell it, do you?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it killed my Camel Crush sponsorship. You know what I mean?
So the follow-up question to that is, what would be your least favorite project?
Ooh. You know what? I really loved my previous job. I had a hosting job working for one of Google's partner companies.
Oh,
And
nice.
I really did enjoy the job, but it was like we sold business to business and business to education. So while I did enjoy what I was doing, it just didn't get me hard, man. Like, not to say it so bluntly, but I was like, it was fine. Like, and like I worked with like one of my best friends. So there are a lot of positives to it. And so the thing is hard in my life was just like, for the most part, everything's pretty awesome. So I was like, yeah, the worst thing was this easy job I had that paid me pretty well. I got to work with one of my best friends all the time. But I just kind of liked Chromebooks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like hard to say, but like I'd say that's probably like the biggest thing I've worked on that I still enjoyed, but I would probably, unfortunately, it's probably not hitting the podium. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Which speaks volumes, to be honest, because with this podcast and stuff like that, finding out your passion, doing things that you love to do, and then you get into this corporate world, right, where it's like the money's good, but something's missing, and I like what I do, but I like don't love what I do, you know?
Yeah.
And
Actually, when you say that, it made me think of something where we'd been working this job for a couple years, and it like really helped us on the technical side because there was we were just constantly cranking stuff out, and we wanted it to look very cinematic. At the time, like the world of Chromebooks and Chrome in general from Google was kind of boring and sterile. I mean, you've seen Google products like white with a little bit of color. So we were like, how do we actually make this interesting, right? But we've been doing that for so long, and I was starting to have that like, okay, I'm sort of following my passion vibe, but that inspired us to do a short film. And then that short film performed well. It's called Chilluminati, and it's about the meaty underbelly of Cincinnati and the effectively like a chilly Illuminati.
Oh my
Yeah, it's great.
God.
And it did well. We got some awards for it. And it was that thing where I was like, oh, we can work, but we can also. So, like, even something like that I was like, yeah, I wasn't super passionate about it. It still drove me to find a passion.
Something else.
Yeah, and
Yes.
be like, oh, you taught me these technical skills. My boss was super cool about that. He would let us use all the gear and do whatever we wanted with it anytime we weren't working, because he smartly was like, hey, if you guys get better at this off the clock, you'll be better for me on the clock. And he was
Right.
right. You know, it's
Yeah.
a good gamble. I'm like, yeah, let's go. You know, it was a good time. So,
Pretty much saying, hey, why don't you train yourself so I don't have to pay to train you?
Yeah.
seriously, though.
Good perspective.
Yeah.
Smarter, not harder.
For sure. You know, I mean, it was like a smaller company, independently run. And I've been lucky in that regard in the last 2 gigs, right? Because, like, again, same thing where obviously Jungle's a way big company, but, like, still independently run. It's that type of place where I can go up to Jungle Jim himself and be like, hey, man, what if? And then the two of us sit like little kids rubbing our hands together in the office like, yeah, no, get in the box of beans. That's a great idea, you know?
So I saw that, which you started that, the whole bathtub with chili.
Oh, my gosh, yes. The Kelseys, I think, stole it for. That's one I will say.
Say it right now.
Yeah, I've lived in Cincinnati now probably close to 30 years, right? Okay. And no one ever had I never saw it made into a joke. It was never a thing. Mine went to a joke. I did it. And then all of a sudden you got all these like phonies. Oh, we're going to do it too. Oh, I lost my ring in there. Yeah, I hope you did, Mr. Swift. That's one I'm like, there's no way they didn't lift it. I remember there was a big thing around it too at the time where I did that. I tried to get so much media attention. We got a decent bit of it. But then one of the stations that's like, we don't really see the vision in this, like 2 days later was interviewing one of the Bengals, and they're like, why don't you bathe in chili? And I was just like,
I saw that.
I am prepared to go to war with you over this politely, you know? But, you know, thankfully I work for smart people who are like, hey, you know, I mean, imitation is a form of flattery.
Yes.
It does suck, but you know what?
It sucks not to get the credit, right?
For
but
sure.
deep down, you're like, I know you know.
And what was
Yeah.
really cool to see, because I never feel like this will happen, and then when it does, I'm always like, oh, I'm happy to be wrong. But people really came out in droves to have my back. They're like, you guys are stealing Mark's bit.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
No one has done it. Was the same way I was. I was like, no one has done this. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
You built a genuine following and they had your back.
It was great. It was a disgusting moment, too. Like, walk into, like, the front of Jungle and see, like, 1,000 people packed in this room to watch me, you know, get down into my bathing suit and get into a bathtub of chili and do a podcast from it. It was so weird. I was like, what are we doing, Cincinnati? But thank you for being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
always crazy
awesome.
when people are like, oh, I know you from the chili bath. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry. Because I have those photos. I saw your perspective. It was terrifying, you know?
Yeah. That's so funny, though. I mean, I think that was organic as it comes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, nobody else was doing it.
I made a joke online and the joke got out of hand.
Yeah.
And so here's this actually, I always love telling this story too. Like, Jungle and I were, well, he was on vacation at the time, but I spent about a year consulting on the build of the space and how we were going to do everything. But I had only been in the building when this all went down for like 3 or 4 months. So Jungle's out of town. I know him decently, but not like I do now, right? And it was like the Bengals won some playoff game, so I made the joke. I'm like, oh, finally, I could bathe in Skyline. And it blows up, and I was like, oh, shit, I got to probably do this now. So, you know, I finally get through everybody at work. They're like, yeah, we're in. You just got to tell Jungle. And I'm like, shit, he's on vacation. This has got to be so uncomfortable. So I call him, and it feels, you know, it's like any silence is like a deafening hour. And I'm just like, hey, Jungle, you know the internet, that thing that you don't really use very often? So I made a joke, and it got out of hand. And now people want to see me bathe in chili, and they just silent for a second. And again, I'm like, cool, this will be an hour of silence. But I'm sure it was like a split second. And he's just like, sounds good, babe. Just don't fuck up the carpets. Click. And I was like, awesome. Are you serious? And then, you know, we talked a few more times. He's like, hey, what if we did this? What if we did this? I'm like, I'm in. But yeah, no. So we got a tub in the studio. It was wild. I just always like to think about the people that came to Jungle Gyms for the first time that Saturday.
Yeah.
And
That was their first impression.
yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
there is a mostly naked man bathing in an indeterminate brown liquid in the entrance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just remember they were squeegeeing it off my body at one point. I was like, I feel so bad for anybody coming in right now.
Oh my god.
So did the chili sales spike that day?
I think they had to have.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was like a whole thing because like, you know, at the time I don't really follow a lot of normal sports. Like I'm like a winter sports guy and I like extreme stuff more, you know. So I didn't really follow the Bengals and so I didn't even know at the time. Well, I guess Skyline now is the official chili of the Bengals, but they were not. It was Gold Star at the time. And one of the companies was a great sport. One of them has blocked me on all social media.
Woof.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
And it was very cool to have the great company come in the morning of the gig and like open cans and fill a tub with me. It was
Nice.
like,
So they essentially sponsored it?
yeah, pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
because it was one of those, and we didn't find out until like the last minute. It was one of those like, oh my gosh, it's the night before and our original chili is not showing up now. And they were like, all right, we got to use whatever we can. And we're like, do we make it in-house? It was a crazy night. Yeah. And I remember we had a really bad snowstorm the night before too. So I stayed up that way. And I was like, who knows? Because we'd been advertising it hard for a week. And people were like, yeah, we're going to come in. This sounds disgusting.
Yeah. I love that. That actually makes me have a question. Since you do so much with social media, and some of it can be deemed like a little risky because it's based off of your humor, and everybody's humor is so different.
Oh, for sure.
How have you navigated something not landing, or even going to the wrong side of the internet where you were like, that was not my target audience?
I think even though I do take a lot of risks, I think they are calculated. So I'm not like completely just jumping always into the fire because, I have a very dark sense of humor, but I also recognize, I think, maybe let me back up. I think I'm good at understanding audiences. So I think that's helped me in my career in ways. It's like one of those soft skills that's sort of hard to put into words. So in this instance, I think I am taking somewhat calculated risks to go like, okay, even before we started, I was like, what's the box look like here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, is there something I should know? And I kind of feel that way too, where don't get me wrong, I do still take some swings and, people will be like, I don't know how I felt about that. I'm like, well, it's a joke. So nothing personal. I don't think I'm saying anything genuinely hurtful, but we're all too online and we're way too sensitive these days to that. So anyway, you asked also what happens if it doesn't land? Make another one, like immediately. Like I think one of the things that's also helped me in my career is that a lot of my peers will try something and then if it like doesn't work out immediately, they kind of just give up and then they disappear for a little bit. And I think that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, I would agree.
And so even when I'm having hard times, I'm not like, it's not like I'm not taking care of myself, but I'm like, okay, I got to get through this. And the only way through is to just come up with another thing.
Yeah, just keep going.
Yeah, there's so much stuff out there now that realistically, if you get into a bit of controversy, kind of depending on the level of controversy, I guess that's maybe I should be clear because some idiot's going to be like, oh, so, but
Yeah.
sorry to the idiots out there. But depending on what the level of controversy is, just ignore it and move on. I think that's a really great tip because a lot of people will write you'll see silly stuff on social media every so often. You're like, I don't think this needed an iPhone Notes app apology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, you said you liked Gold Star, and that's kind of like, shut up. You know what I mean? If it's a serious thing, then you should take care of it. But anyway, so that's been a huge thing too, where it's like, again, hit the gas.
Yeah.
There's an open lane again, and the lane is try to make another joke to forget the last one.
Yeah.
Or double down. I don't know. Who knows? Sometimes I'm just like, I joke all the time that I am also my audience. I'll just say some things, and I'm like, well, I did not prep that sentence. I'm like, where did that come from? And I'm like listening like, oh, that seemed funny to me. Hope that works,
Yeah.
Hope the Chamber of Commerce has a good sense of humor,
Going back to the jungle, how did you guys find each other? How did that help?
That was a cool year. So, that was 2020. I always feel bad about this because people were like, what was COVID like for you? And I was like, amazing, kind of, actually. Like, our company I worked for sold, like I said, they were doing business. We sold work from home. So it was very easy to work from the house. So that was awesome. I was booking all kinds of ads and commercials. And so the big one I just led this campaign for Pepsi. And it was this big ad where I kicked Sam Hubbard out of his own press conference. And I take over the press conference. I'm like, this is my show, baby. And I'm like, doing this whole thing anyway. So that's going around. And while I'm doing that, a mutual friend was like, hey, man, I heard a rumor that Jungle Jim wants to do a show. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And he was like, I don't know, dude. He's like, but I think you should send them a resume. And he connected me. He was like, here's what I saw. Gave me the contact email. I was like, my resume looks crazy too, visually speaking. So I was like, this will probably play well to this place. I don't need to send them the white background one. I'll send them one with a tile of cartoon Mark face. And sent it in, and then the next day, I get a phone call that gets picked up by my Google Call assistant, and I see the text coming up on screen. They're like, this is so and so. I'm with Jungle Gyms. What the fuck is this? And it's like coming up in text. I was like, oh my God. And so, frantically answering the phone, they bring me in. And I should mention, for this ad, they had shaved like stripes into my head and in my chest. So I showed up looking kind of crazy. And I had a hat on. And they're like, why are you wearing the hat? And I take it off. And Jungle's like, oh, you should have come in like this. This is crazy. And I was like, okay. I was just trying to be respectful. But, they read a lot of people for this job, apparently. I wasn't really privy to that. Obviously, it was like any other job. I was like, but they just kept calling me back. And they were like, I remember this being one of my favorite moments where I came in, and I'm treating it like every serious job interview I've ever taken, where I'm like, okay, what's our target customer? Who's our audience look like? What is the need that I'm filling? Like, who do you want to listen to this? Or what do you want to be delivered there? And I'm looking around the room at everybody, and they're kind of like, they didn't say this, but they're kind of like, easy, nerd. Like, that was the energy. They were seriously like, what? No, whatever. What do you think the show should be? I'm like, oh, you realistically want me to come up with like a show idea. So then I just pitched them. I was like, I always wanted to be David Letterman. I think it'd be very funny to do that in a grocery store. And that gave them a little bit of an idea. And I had some, I'd like done little mock-ups of what I thought it could look like. But I didn't know they were building a studio or anything like that. So it really wasn't until like the second or third interview where that was another funny moment where we're going through everything. We're talking about some stuff. And I'm in Jungle's office, and his office is funny too. But I'm sitting there with like all the brains of the building, and we're just looking around the room. And at one point, he just goes, what if I built you a studio? And instinctive laugh out loud. I was just like, okay, yeah, whatever, dude. And I'm laughing, and I look around the room, and everybody is just staring at me like stone cold. And I'm like, oh, dude, he is not, none of you are joking. This is not funny to them. And I was like, oh, are you being serious? He walks me into this other room, and he has this huge like 3D paper. I mean, that's a little bit, it was like cardboard-ish, but a build of the store, like a full mock-up. And he shows me this area, and he goes, this would be you. Does that look big enough? And like, I knew it was the greenhouse because I could see the shape of it, and then it was like a third of the room. I'm like, yeah, the studio that's like larger than my apartment. Yeah, dude, I think that's going to be just fine. I didn't even know what to say. I was like, this is crazy. He's the first, it's like the first time a wealthy person has been like, hello, creative. I'd like to financially invest in you in a big way. I was like,
see you.
That's crazy. Yeah, and I mean, seriously, I was like, you're building me, as I see it, like this monument to me in the entrance of your store. I was like, are you sure you want to do this?
We don't even know each other.
I know, really, and now it's great. I mean, like, but again, one of Jungle's, I think, secret powers is he knows people like instantly. He just gets a beat on them, and like, yeah, he's an interesting character. I love being there. Awesome. I mean, put it mildly.
And it seems like you guys work really well together as far as like the chili idea and stuff like that. Like,
yeah. He loves weird ideas. You see signs when you go to Jungle Gyms like, hey, you got a crazy idea for us? We want to hear. And people are like, that's cute. I'm like, no, dude, call that number. Because people come up to me and be like, hey, what if you did this? I'm like, that's not really my area, but you should call these numbers or these emails. Like, they genuinely want to hear from you, Our regular contact us form goes to all the managers. So I always tell people, I'm like, if there's some product that you went out of the country and you want to try it again, you can't find it here or whatever, email it, because like my coworkers kind of love finding stuff like that. You know what I mean? So there's all these little layers
That's
to
so
it too.
cool.
It's so cool.
I love that.
And then I get to see a lot of like what people are requesting, and then that gives me an idea. I'm like, oh, cool. So this is kind of like, this seems to be a trend I'm noticing. So we should make some shorts and reels around these products. Even if it's just as simple as like, hey, we have this. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was curious, so how do you go about picking who you want to be on your podcast? Is it random? Do you have a method to your madness?
I think there's a little bit, it's like somewhere in between. I think everything, I'm trying to just like kind of find a good mix. I was like, I like a little chaos.
Yeah.
Because again, it'll be things where I'm like, what is trending right now? Is this someone I know that could have an interesting take? I'm always trying to find an interesting perspective too, because I think our shows are somewhat like similar in regards to we're doing a bit of like a human interest thing about people. And I like launching brands. That's always fun. And we as Jungle Gyms, I think I can say this for all of us, we love finding these independently, that thing that you've been passionate about that you make in your kitchen. We want to help you sell it, kind of a thing. So when it comes to guests, it's like a little bit of like, okay, I'm looking at new stuff coming in. Or if I have some topic I keep seeing online, I'm like, hey, who's someone I know? Because people will be like, you have comedians on there? I'm like, yeah, they're funny and they have interesting insights.
Right.
And they are not super entrenched in the grocery world.
Yeah.
And I think that might be interesting. And so I find that fun, too, because at the end of the day, I look at something Jungle and them told me early on. I was like, again, I'm going into like, this is how I think we can reach it. This is how I think I can move product. And they were like, whoa. It's not like that kind of show, dude. They're like, just make something cool. And I was like, again, you never have that in your career.
No,
I've worked
no.
for all these people, and even like my favorite things I'd done, which is every time I'm doing something, I was like, this is my favorite until the next one. But it was genuinely crazy to work for these people who, I've been there almost 6 years now playing with them. And to have them still be like, no, just do cool stuff. And when I pitch something weird and they're like, will people on the internet think this is fun? I'm like, I think so. They're like, great, try it, So I think that all kind of plays into this too, where I'm like, what could be the coolest thing I could do around whatever topic? Or are we doing an event, right? We've got like Hot Sauce Festival coming up this month in the end of July. So I'm like, what can I do around that? But lately we've had a big shift because we've been producing in-house commercials. So that's taken up a ton of time. So the podcast is now like only every other week. So I do have a little more leeway there too to find stuff. But I'm also in the middle of, like I was saying, trying to redesign the studio and maybe reformat the show a little bit. I'm like, we've done over 200 episodes now. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe I should consider a second season kind of a thing.
Yeah. Congrats on that, though.
Thank
That's
you.
huge. That is huge.
It's crazy to think about, too. And I had a friend, she was like, I'll interview you for the 200th episode.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, sounds good, but I have like all these episodes in the can I need to get out still. And so she's just like, is that ever coming out? I'm like, no, I had so many in the can still. So I think I've put out like 220 episodes now, but eventually I'll be like, the 200th episode is here. But I also think that'll be funny. I'm like,
Yeah.
So, from like a producing side of things, you're the host. What do you edit? Do you do the back end stuff
yeah,
too?
so like I do. So I have my friend Lucky also, like depending on what task we're doing. So like most of the social media stuff and the podcast, that's like all me. But then we obviously, like I said, we're making these in-house commercials. We'll do some other video content as well. And like it again depends on the segment because he and I may shoot something for the show. He'll probably edit that too. Where he's a little more. He's our company's like director of photography. So like when we're shooting like ad photos, he's doing all of that. Anything that could use photo or video, that's like his task. So I'm glad I just get some access to him. And it's nice because like for some of the bigger projects, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to sit and edit this. And as my role has evolved in the company, because now I'm doing a lot more like PR events, I'm showing up doing podcasts, things like that. It's evolved a little bit, so I could see as it's going, like way more of this will probably fall on him in the future. But the podcast is pretty easy to edit for the most part. And I try not to trim people down too much unless there's like some huge flub for the most part. And I try to tell everybody that comes on, I'm like, I want this to be organic. I kind of like it a little lived in personally, like where if I flub a line, I'm hoping, as dumb as this might sound, but I'm hoping that someone else watches it. Because, you'll work with someone that's like a super perfectionist. They're like, oh, I kind of said it weird. I'm like, who cares? Just keep going.
Right.
And I'm hoping that will encourage other people to be like, okay, I can relax a little bit. It doesn't have to be so, controlled and like sterile, And I think maybe that's the nature of being in Jungle too, which is, again, another kind of like crazy place. But I don't know. I think even for my own personal stuff, that's what I want it to be, is like a little chaotic and real. I want you to be like, oh, that is actually Mark. Like, this isn't some character he puts on. This is like genuinely this guy,
Yeah. I think that's the best. Like when we try to talk about things here. Sorry, that fly just totally distracted me.
Oh, I was hoping you were gonna Mr.
Dude,
Miyagi.
I
catch
was
you.
thinking about it.
I saw Alex tracking it. I was just like, she's gonna get it.
I was like, yeah, right. But there it is.
It won't leave you now.
Yeah, now I forget the question. So next to you. So being organic though, like when people come in and sit down and have a conversation with us, that's what we want. It's just a general conversation, right?
Sure.
Where there's other podcasts out there that are more like scripted. They're like, guess what happened? What? No way.
Yeah.
And it's like,
huh? Yeah.
That's the first time I'm hearing about it. Did you also hear about the analytics that are behind it? It's like, oh, you didn't just hear about it.
Yeah, no, not at all. Like you're reading a script. When I first started the show, I had way more scripted segments. But this is before we were doing video too, and I kind of liked that. And then the interviews would be weird, but like it's like going back and forth. So now what I keep thinking about is like, because I want to shift to a little more like YouTube style in general, I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to script more stuff, but I still will also have loose segments, right? And I think it's like I have just enough improv training to go, okay, what's the A of the scene? What's the Z of the scene? And I feel confident at least enough in myself to go, I can figure out getting between those 2 points so long as I kind of know where I'm supposed to land and where I'm supposed to start.
Yeah.
And I treat a lot of stuff that way too, I think, which has been sort of at least helpful for me.
I kind of want to pivot to the floor.
Sure.
I'm so interested in that. How did you get on that? How was the process?
It was so I unfortunately don't think I got the full experience, not in a bad way, but in a good way. So one of my friends is like one of Survivor's like most famous villains ever. So his name's Johnny Fairplay. His whole bit was that he lied about his grandma dying to get an immunity challenge.
Oh my God.
And she was like totally in on it. Johnny rules. And funny enough, we met in the store because he was in town doing a Survivor event, and then we become friends over the last couple of years. So he was in town he's a huge pinball fan, but he was like hosting a pinball tournament somewhere on the west side of town. And we're outside in the parking lot doing what one does at night. And he's like, man, you should like do this TV show I'm doing. And I was like, what is it? And he's like, oh, it's The Floor. And I was like, I kind of knew it, but I was like, Rob Lowe. I was like, okay, cool, let's go. And so he called casting while we were sitting there, and he's like, I'm with my friend Mark. You should totally read him for this. And then the next day they set up a meeting, and then I did it in my studio. One of the producers was from Cincinnati, so she knew Jungle Gyms, which was cool. And was like, what are you doing? She's like, I haven't been in there since COVID. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, do you remember that this area wasn't open? It's because they were building this for me. It was crazy. So, I mean, the process was cool. Hearing from some of the other contestants, it went on months and months and months for them. I got in touch with them at like the end of February. I was on a plane less than 2 months later.
Wow.
So the casting process was cool. They went through and they're like, who are you? Kind of like, I mean, honestly, like the intro to the show. Who are you? What do you do? What are some of your interests? And I do a lot of auditions like that, so I thought very prepared for it. And I went through almost the next day, maybe I was on with her boss immediately, and they're like, hey, we like you. We're going to do a fake version of the game. So you play a fake version of The Floor with them on the phone. And then as you get through that, they're like, all right, we'll give you your scores. And so then me and Johnny are talking, and he and I were only like a point or two off, and we're like, oh, baby, this should be a good time. Like, we both scored in the 90s out of 100 on the test, and we're like, I think we're getting this. So then it was just a couple weeks of waiting, and then occasionally you get an email like, hey, we're still deciding. We'll let you know. Hey, do you have a passport? And I remember being like, yeah, I do. Why? And they're like, by the way, this show shoots in Dublin, Ireland.
No way.
Yeah, so so it was crazy, and I was like, okay, how do we handle this from social? What's the deal here? So they eventually cast us officially, and they're like, here's the deal. You're flying out next week to Ireland. But it blew my mind because you get there, they gave us like 2.5 days off. So I was just like, oh, cool, I get a free trip to Ireland.
Yeah, it's a vacation.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is the first time Disney paid for me to vacation instead of the other way. 'Cause they own everything.
Right.
So I was like, oh, this is cool. So I got to spend a couple days in Ireland, a place that I love international travel, but like Ireland was not on my list at all. I'm like, it didn't excite me. And not that there was anything wrong with it, but it was just not one of those places where I'm like, oh, man. It's not like my trip to Tokyo I'm planning where I'm like, yeah, Japan's going to be crazy. I kind of just figured I was like, this is just going to be like a different version of like white culture, right? And I don't mean anything bad by it, but I was just whatever. And then I got there and I was like, the country is beautiful. I had an incredible experience the whole time. I was like checking out museums. I was being a nerd about it. I'm like checking out museums. Meanwhile, everyone on the show is like studying to compete on the show because you got a list of the categories, so you knew what was going to be covered on the show. But they're all like, me and Johnny are like, do you want to go to this museum? You want to go to check this out? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And like, I mean, he's pretty famous. We go all over the world, and people knew who he was for sure. And then we're getting picked up by our friend Evil Dick, who was like a pretty famous contestant on Big Brother back in the day. So it's just like a wild experience overall. And it's one of those it was great. And then being on the show itself was fun. Like, long days. You're like 8 to 12 hours standing.
Oh, wow.
And the floor is legit. I mean, it's just a giant LED screen that you're standing on. But then think about this. Like, it felt like kindergarten at some point, at least for me, in that I was like, I'm willing to listen to direction, but then you have 99 other people who might not. Yeah. There was somebody that kept chewing gum through the show, and every day, and they would do the thing, again, the kindergarten part, they wouldn't just be like, I was number 22. Like, if it was me, they'd have been like, 22, stop chewing gum. That's how they should have done it. Instead, they'd be like, someone out there is chewing gum. We're going to need you to stop doing that. We've already asked you. I'm like, what are you doing? Call their number out. Tell them they're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, shut it down.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of, there are a lot of funny things. They would print little feet on your space, like on the TV, and you'd hear the guy, like the line producer, feet. I have that in my nightmares. Yeah, because they want you to stand where the feet were, so you could get that, and they would know where you're gonna be because you're standing on the floor all day.
Did
So we're
people
walking
not
around.
stand in their spot?
Of course not. Again, this is so mean. But Johnny said this, and I thought it was very, very funny. And he was just like, look, Mark, here's the deal. They cast like 5 of us they think could win the show. They cast like another 5 to 10 of us that they think will be good for TV. And he's like, and then they find 85 of the dumbest people on the planet.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Johnny, that's not very nice. And then by day 3, I'm like, I could just hear me. And then they pick 85 of the dumbest. You know what I mean? It's like echoing. We had signed gnarly NDA agreements, right? And I am connecting on a flight to Dublin. And we flew the first way. We stopped in Philadelphia. And an older lady that I think she got kicked off on the first episode. But she's just walking up and telling everybody what she's doing.
Oh, no.
And so she's talking to me. And she's like, what are you here for? I was like, oh, I'm visiting friends. And she's like, I'm here shooting a TV show for Rob Lowe. I'm like, wow, that's so crazy. And then, a day and a half later, we're at like a random meeting for like fitting. She's like, oh, I thought you were here to see friends. I was like, I'm here to not break my NDA. Lady.
Yeah.
Like, are you insane?
She
like,
had
no.
no clue what the NDA was.
Yeah, I told who, like, Jungle and them. Okay, so one more funny bit about this. So Jungle and them knew because I had to disclose that I know Rob Lowe's dad. And that was like, they went through the whole process, and like the last call with the production, they were like, is there anything you should disclose? And I was like, yeah, I'm really not sure how to say this, but like, I know Rob Lowe's dad, like, decently. And they were like, are you being serious? I'm like, yeah, why would I wait till the end? This could get me kicked off the show, dude. Like, I really want a free trip to Ireland. Are you kidding me? And they're like, are you being serious? I was like, yes, I'm very serious. I'm like, I don't think it's going to ruin anything, but I felt like you all should know. And then they took it from there. But he and Jungle are pretty close.
Oh, wow.
And like, actually, so Chuck's wife, Marcia, and Jungle were friends forever, way back when. And like, so if you get some of our old, like our freezer bags, there's pictures of her back in the 70s helping him run the produce stand.
Wow.
And so Marcia's hilarious, dude. We did a roast of Jungle, and she was like so funny that I was like, can you write for me? And it was great. So anyway, like, it was like a whole thing. There's all these like cute little moments from it, but I thought it was really funny at one point. Like, we did some dinner for Jungle, and they're like texting, like, we're telling Rob we're here with you right now. And like sending selfies. I was like, that's so crazy. And he was a delight on the show, by the way. But like, his parents, even cooler.
So they're from Ohio, right?
Yeah, I think they're like Dayton adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that's crazy. And the first time I met Chuck and Marcia was very cool because we're all just, Jungle and them invited me they're like, hey, you want to go get a drink with our friends? That was how they said it. I was like, yeah, sure. And we're hanging out, whatever, and we're talking for a little bit. And at some point, Chuck comes, he's like, oh, so you do a podcast for Jungle? That's so cool. He's like, my son does a podcast. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, man. Let me hear more about it. He's like, oh, it's based on some line he says all the time. And I was like, okay. And the show's called Literally. And so eventually we were like talking for a little bit, and he's cool and funny, and he's like pulls it up. He goes, oh, yeah, this is it. And the cover of the podcast just says Literally, and it's a picture of Rob Lowe. And there's no part of me that's like, this is someone related to Rob Lowe. In my head, I'm like, oh, so your son works for Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, Blake, I was like, that's so awesome, man, blah, 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 blah. Well, later on the evening, I go out, and we're walking somewhere, and Jungle and his son, Jimmy, they're like, man, that was so cool. And I was like, what was so cool? They're like, well, when he told you Rob Lowe was his son, you just like were cool about it. I'm like, oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, of course I'd be cool about that. And in my head, I'm just like, you idiot. That's Rob Lowe's dad. That's so crazy. But they've been really sweet forever. And it was really fun when the show was airing because I would occasionally get messages from them from watching it. And I was like, that's so cute. Like, I'm sure you're watching it obviously because of the familial tie, but it's very nice that you thought of me at all to write back. You know what I mean? It was like just such a cool moment. I was like, I can't believe this. You know?
My significant other and I, and my youngest son, he's 6, we watch it all the time. And then we saw you on there, and I'm like, dude, no way. And then all of a sudden I started seeing your posts and stuff. So it was very ironic.
They were really strict about these things, and I always am so afraid. I'm like, what can I tell people? You know what I mean? And I was surprised they let me use the promo picture I did because it was one of the producers shot a picture of me laying on the floor itself, and she's like, do not show this to anybody. And she's like, at least until the show airs. And then hit me up right when it was okay. She's like, hey, Mark, by the way, you can totally post that picture now. I was like, sweet.
Yeah, don't have to tell me
Crazy.
twice.
Yeah, I know. Dude, what a crazy experience. And they gave me some good, like, airtime, too. It worked out great, I thought, at least, you know?
No, from what I saw, I mean, I felt like you were just like all the other contestants as far as, like, I would imagine that you were in that process for a long time.
Oh, yeah. It was, I mean, I really, again, I can't thank Johnny enough because I think it helped me bypass a lot of the BS, you know, where you're like, oh, because, like, again, here, talking to, like, some of my, like, the other people on the show, they're like, dude, we started talking to them, like, a year in advance. I was like, really?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, me too. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, God.
I was going to say, how long was the process of like from recording it to you basically having to be quiet until it aired? Because I know that can be a really long time.
It was, so I came home like the first week of May last year, and then the show started at the end of September.
Okay.
And they were like, you can say you're in Ireland, you just can't say what for. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And so, like, the only people who knew were, like, my, you know, like, Jungle. My immediate, like, Lucky knew, you know, all that stuff. And it was just like anybody close to me, obviously, like family and loved ones, you know, that kind of stuff. And so it was great. I had a great time right beforehand, too. It was awesome. So I had a cute day at the museum right before I left. It was really nice. I think about that day a lot. And then I, like, got on a Dreamliner the next morning. It was crazy. There were so many funny things. Here's a fun thing that, because people ask, like, how many days did it take? And you do a couple episodes a day, sometimes 3. But we're all wearing the same outfits. People are like, they shoot it all in one day. I'm like, no, they're just steam cleaning and that, you know, like, seriously, dry cleaning all your clothes every night. But what was crazy is they were like, we would love if you had duplicates of your outfits. And I was like, oh, shit. And they're telling me this 24 hours before the flight. And I'm like, I don't really, you know, I'm telling them, I was like, listen, my clothes come from one of two places. Either it's something custom I've had made, which I'm not making 2 of. I'm not in that pay bracket. I'm barely in the half one made pay bracket. Or more likely, it was a clearance rack purchase because someone else thought it was ugly. And then I'm like, there's only one in my size. So I was so nervous about this. I'm like, just trying to buy shirts that they were all way less cool versions of what I would actually like to wear. But I was like, whatever. And then it all worked out great. And they get there, they're like, no, we really like the shirt that we cast you in. We're going to do that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah.
Another fun one was at one point, I usually have like a little chest hair out. We're not in like I didn't think too graphic of a way, but there was like a whole thing with wardrobe where they were like, 1 button up is 2 buttoned, 1 button down is 2 unbuttoned. So they sewed halfway in between and stitched the shirt close. I thought that was the funniest thing. They're like, he can only have this much chest hair.
You can only
out.
have 5 hairs out. Not
I mean,
10.
seriously, I was like, now I know I'm working for Disney.
Yeah,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Yeah, it's too much. Too much.
And I just recently cut it out because I was like, I kept wearing it. And I was like, well, it's all sewn in. I'm not trying to destroy the shirt. And then I was like, oh, with the small enough clippers, I could get it. So now that shirt's free again.
That's hilarious.
I love that.
But yeah, it was great seeing you on the show, honestly, because I
Dude,
think
thank you.
that just goes to show where you were and where you are today. I feel like, you know what I mean? And you're putting in all the work. And just to not only see you locally on the podcast, on the commercials, but then all of a sudden I'm like flipping, I can't get you off my TV. You know what I mean?
It's great. I at once I'm like, thank you, but also I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got really lucky. I have an H&R Block campaign. They're launching a bunch of like ads to do your taxes and track your sales and stuff. And one of my friends, I didn't even, like, I'm pretty close to the production. I hadn't even seen it, but then one of my friends who lives in San Diego was like, dude, you're on my TV right now. I was like, hell yes, I am. Please send it to me. But she's got like, she just had a baby. So it was like Bluey is playing over, but it's like just the video of me. I was like, honestly, that's a good matchup.
We'll take
Let's
it.
go.
We'll take it.
We love Australia.
Yeah.
You know? I got a Bluey at home, so.
I love that.
But thank you, truly.
Your trajectory is honestly amazing. And
I'm
like,
hoping it keeps going.
your scope of what you can cover is, I just feel like it's incredible because it's like he said, local, but then you're also going to Ireland to record a TV show.
Yeah. I was trying to go from local favorite to international favorite.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was crazy. And like, what's fun about that world too is that once you do well for any of these productions, it's honestly not too dissimilar from a lot of my casting and commercials and TV and shit, where it's like you work, a lot of the same people work. So if you suck to work with, I don't see a lot of those people frequently. But if you're fun and talented, you know,
Yeah.
I say in a lot of these productions, it's 50% can you do the job, and 50% can I tolerate doing the job with you.
Yeah.
And I think thankfully I have a little more in the second 50% where I'm like, I'm a good hang.
Yeah.
But it's been a thing where like people talk and I've had so many things lately where they're just like, I think H&R Block came up that way where they're like, oh dude, we got to just get Mark for this, and then I get a call and that's insane to me. Like things where I don't even necessarily have to audition as frequently for anymore, where it's just like, yeah, we know what you can do. And then they see the other stuff, so they're kind of, there's like enough of a reel to be like, oh, okay.
Well, that goes to show you how being authentic can literally carry the weight of everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It gets you where you need to be.
As we live in the age of influence and people think putting on airs will be successful. And look, and to be fair, sometimes it is very, very successful. But like the people I think that are going to stand the test of time are going to be the people who you're like, that's a real person doing authentic things that they genuinely believe in and feel, I don't take every job I'm offered because like sometimes I'm just like, no, I hate this. I don't want to lie about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's a smart thing too. Look, a lot of your guests are people that I feel that way about. I say it all the time, in particular about Brandon Mullet Review, where I'm like, you're seeing it now with this Chinese buffet thing taking off. It's because that's really that guy. I remember one of the times, like we met years ago, but I remember after that, we were talking in the office one day. I was like, look, man, I don't even always agree with your reviews, but that's not the point. The point is these are authentically your reviews. We shouldn't align on all of them because we're different people. And the fact that we don't, to me, is what makes you so appealing to me and why I find it so fascinating. So that's like one of those things I hope to encourage everybody to do is like, be you, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and the audience is there for it. And even the people that you think that might not like, mess with what you do, they're going to attach to the fact that we live in a very phony world now, and anybody pushing authenticity is going to stand out,
I appreciate you bringing that up because that's one thing that on the podcast here, like just finding your lane and like going full throttle in it, right? And not holding back, right? Because at one point in time, we talk about having the fear of failure and having the fear in general, but it's like, don't feel like you have to go this way because that's what that person wants you to do. Do you?
Yeah. I always say, like, fear shouldn't be the message. Fear should be the messenger, if that makes sense. And that, like, that fear should be the thing that makes you, that's like your call to action. And I also try to view failure as a good thing because if you screw something up, you can, if you don't let your ego get in the way of it,
Right.
you can learn so much from doing something wrong where you can go like, okay, objectively, what was this? Do I not have the right audience for this? Am I putting it in the wrong place? Was it presented in a way that maybe wasn't appealing to people? And these are all hard things. And artists, I think in particular, struggle with this because we are so intrinsically attached to the art we make. But sometimes that doesn't matter because I have to pay rent. And you know what I mean? And like the reality is like you got to find where your line is in that regard. And anyway, it's like, well, it's honestly, it's like you asked earlier. It's like, what happens if something doesn't land? I'm like, jump again, dude. You know what I mean? Like, just keep doing it because eventually something will hit and then you'll find that thing. And then you're like, great, okay, I'll do more of this. Again, I'll hit the gas in this lane and go until traffic backs up again and I'll look at and reevaluate.
Yeah.
I think like in the form of like social media or the internet, we default to like it's got to either be me or it's got to be you.
Right.
But there is a median in there, right?
For
somewhere
sure.
where it's like
There's room
no.
for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's really bad about that in regards to their artistic spaces, in my opinion. Some areas better than others. One of the things that honestly has made me so excited to be a part of like the hip hop community is that's like one of the more genuinely supportive areas here, where like everybody in like that R&B and like I said, R&B hip hop space, I see them all at each other's shows, and there's like, on like a big scale, it felt like, especially growing up in like the mid 90s when like, like the whole East Coast, West Coast thing was happening. I feel like the genre has unfairly gotten this thing of like, there's a lot of butting heads here, but that's not really true at all. It's way more in like rock bands. It's way more in comedians and other things like that, where I'm like, oh, I can feel how much everybody hates each other in this room. Why is it like that?
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, there's space for everybody. Look at the internet. There's we all should have a chance to shine. And like you said, it doesn't have to be either it's you or it's me.
Yeah.
It's like it could be both of us.
Yeah.
Right? We're not doing the same thing.
And I also hate the facade of I'm here to support you, but I'm really not, right?
Yeah.
I'll watch your stuff, but I won't click and like. You know,
Right.
it's
What's the point?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think there's still a lot of that like early internet thing where people are like, well, I can't have that many people I follow. I have to have more followers than following. And I'm like, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
Also, hitting like takes very little effort, and it's an easy way to support other people.
Yeah.
They're not going to get in your way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Think about how many podcasts are here in Cincinnati alone.
Yeah.
Right? We can hit heart react on all of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, with all that being said, what is a day in the life for you? Are you a 9 to 5er with the pod or with the stuff that you got going on in Jungles? And I know
Yeah.
you host shows.
Sure. I mean, it's a loose 9 to 5, right? Like in that, because I'm doing a lot of the other stuff like social media and all those things. So I'm trying to capture all of that, but it's loose because I'm at the mercy of any business. It's like, hey, when are you available?
Right.
Oh, today could be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Tomorrow could be 8 a.m. Or maybe it's 7 p.m. at night tomorrow. So I just try to be flexible about it for the most part. But yeah, I'm in there as much as possible. I'm trying to get more involved in like our events because I'll host a lot of those. But I'm also like, I got some ideas for some fun stuff we could do too.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's fun because what's fun about Jungle is like I liken it to working in a mall. Jungle owns the mall, and then every department's its own store. And like whoever runs that store, they kind of have all of the power, you know? Like they don't tell me what to do with the show. They're like, what are you doing with the show? And then I'll be like, oh, I'm doing this. And they're like, sounds good. You know, as long as I'm not tanking the ratings and they're not getting angry emails like, I can't believe Mark said this about Lay's kettle chips or whatever, you know? It's usually in a good way. And I imagine for the other departments, probably a little more financially. Like, are the numbers going up or are they going down? Oh, they're going up? Great. Keep killing it. Oh, they're going down? Figure out why they're going down, you know? So that's kind of crazy. It's a crazy place. I love it.
And we're going to circle back to the original little secret tea that
Yeah.
you dropped. And going back to what you said right before that, your music you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Is it a hip hop, R&B?
It's a
soul?
little. It's going to be like a little of all of the above. My original pitch was I wanted to do this complete multi-genre thing, and then I won't spill two of like the big brains behind it. I'll tell you after we're done. But the two of them are just like two of my favorite like just creators in general, and I trust them implicitly. And I had this idea, and I ran it by them. I'm like, "What do you think?" And then they were like, "Here's how we can elevate this." So the long-term plan, I'm going to put out like a physical copy of it. I probably won't put it to stream. I really want it to be like kind of event-based, and it'll make sense when I tell you the details off air. But there's like a bit of like an event aspect to it. What I'm trying to do is I told one of the other producers, I was like, look, this is one of those things that, yes, we're making it in Cincinnati, but I feel like this is an idea that will transcend the city. And not that I don't want it to be a Cincinnati thing, but I want it to sell in other places. You know, I mentioned Chilluminati earlier. It's a well-made short film. I'm very proud of it. It's Cincinnati chili focused, though, so it doesn't really play outside the 275 loop. I remember submitting it to an LA film festival. One of the guys was like, I love this. I used to live in Cincinnati. I get it. And he's like, a lot of the other people are like, what? And so it didn't go. So anyway, this is one of those where I'm like, I don't want it to be too locally focused because I think it's a grand enough idea that what I'm hoping is that something like this happens and then people go, oh, wow, they're doing interesting stuff in Cincinnati rather than being like, this is a Cincinnati thing.
Yeah.
It's all Reds and the Conies and
Yeah.
shit. You know, and I'm like, I love those things, but like,
You pigeonholed yourself.
exactly. I want to make a piece of art that I hope will transcend. I want people who don't like these art forms and like these genres to be curious, at least to be like, you know what, I'll check this out. So it's going to be very cool. I mean, we're pretty early in the process still, but like, I am really, really,
I was
really
gonna
looking
say,
forward
what
to
is
it.
your plan for like dropping? Like, are you gonna like tease or
Oh,
like
yeah, for
drop
sure.
a song? Or?
Once we get closer. Oh, I mean, like, you'll laugh when we get done. I have like physical products that pair with this thing that will make more sense when I said it that way. That I'm like, all right, how do we integrate these angles? How do we do this? Again, I will tease something. I don't know what we'll do as far as fulls. I imagine we'll do like a song or two drop, but that's one I want to make sure everybody's on board with first. Where I'm just like, look, you guys are also putting a lot of heart and soul in this. I think it should be really, really cool.
I love
I'm
that.
really excited about it, at least. So even if no one else is, that's fine. I'll do what I always do: is just take it to another city and see what happens.
Yeah, there you go.
You know?
I mean, that's the beauty of art, right?
Yeah.
And being an entertainer, you know.
For sure. I wonder if, well, and again, I'll tell you when we talk about the rollout in general. I'm like, I think it's a thing I could bring other places potentially, but we'll see.
Do you have a time frame in mind? Like for our listeners that are like, oh my God, he's dropping music. I
Probably
can't
within
wait.
the next year. That would be my hope. But also, because I'm going to do a physical press, I imagine that like vinyl factories will probably factor into the timeline too, because I'm like, everybody's repressing Taylor Swift albums and she's ahead of everybody in the process. So I'm like trying to find a couple indie. There's a couple indie people here in town. There's a company called Wax Mage. I think it's in Tennessee, and I really love the way they do a lot of like metal stuff, but just their vinyl is beautiful looking, and they do all kinds of, it's very chaotic, and I think it will make sense genre wise, I think, all said and done. So I'm really excited about that. And who knows, it might hit streaming eventually too, but my goal personally, and this will be something that we will decide on as a group, but I would love for at least the first year for it to be solely available in physical media, because I want you to specifically engage with this. I don't want this to be like a background thing, at least not for the first couple listens. I want you to really take the journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're buying a physical record, you typically listen to the entire thing versus just a song. So
Exactly.
if you have like a story to tell or something in there, that's how it hits.
Yeah, so it'll make sense. It's going to be really, really
That's
cool. I'm
awesome.
sorry to be so vague
No,
about it.
I'm excited.
But it's one of those things where I'm like so hyped about it, and
Yeah.
the people involved are very, very cool. I think we're going to do a fun roll. Again, it's something very unique, and one of the producers last year did a very unique rollout for one of his albums, and that was why I was like, all right, I'm obviously a fan and we're friends, but like I think we should do something together, because I know we have big ideas, and I think we can, like, together we can open some doors for each other. You know,
And that's what Cincinnati should be about, I feel like, right?
Yep.
There is a stigma, if you will, that we were just talking about it, and especially more so in the music industry, here locally, where it was like, I'll work with you, but I won't work with you. I'll support you, I won't support you, type of thing. And it's a pull.
You have to. Look, and sometimes when I do podcasts and I mention the things where I'm like, these groups are a little weird with me or whatever, I'm like, I'm not doing it to be a jerk. I'm doing it because you're an idiot for behaving that way. And I think by calling out the behavior, other people will be like, maybe I should reevaluate the way I treat other people's art. And maybe I should also have this like healthy view of like, hey, listen, let's do each other's podcasts. Let's go to each other's shows. Hey, you need a feature on this record? Cool, I'd love to help with that. Would you be down to do one for me one day? Oh, you would? Awesome. Because like whenever, it was funny, somebody at one point asked, like, why do you do every single thing? And I'm like, well, look, if it's some kid that's trying to start up a show, I got half an hour for them. You know what I mean? And maybe it'll inspire them to do something great. And I think a lot of people are like, doing that will tank my career. It'll kill my opportunity. I'm like, no.
Helping people?
Yeah, it won't do that. I am living proof of it. I got a great thing going on. My life in general is like pretty much incredible every single day. And I really attribute a lot of that to just being willing to be like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to do that. I want to be a part of this. I want to go have fun with you. I want to support other people because I also want to be supported. And it's very easy to go out there and be visible and be like, yeah, I fuck with this. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to be successful too. So,
Do you have any advice for anybody that's trying to get in the field that you're in, or just in general?
no. I mean, realistically, I'm always like, dude, I don't know. I really think so much of it is tied to just who I am as a person. So it's like tough where I'm like, well, this is what I would do. I'll give you all of the steps. I don't know if it will work the same way for you, because we're all, you know what I mean? We're all so different.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest one is like, fail all of the time. Don't be an asshole about failing, because most people are. Most people fail and they're like, well, it was the audience's fault. It's never. It is always your fault. And that's okay, like, because you have to take that and go, what can I do better next time? And use that to fuel it instead of being sad. Like, I'm sad, but I'm sad about stuff that makes sense to me, where I'm like, that makes sense. But like, these failures, I'm like, okay, well, what's the next thing I'm going to try? I liken it to auditioning for commercials, TVs, whatever. I'm taking hundreds of auditions a week. Am I getting hundreds of jobs? Of course not. I might get one. And that's awesome. But a lot of people will be like, I just never book anything. I'm giving up. And I'm like, this is your passion and you're just like willing to give up like that? Brother, keep trying. Just try forever. Eventually, if you are genuinely good at it, someone will see it. But you're not going to see it in the first couple tries. You're going to see it on try 99. You know what I mean?
And having that energy, putting that good energy out there where, hey, I'll get the next one is 10 times more effective than, oh, well, I'm never going to get it. It's like, no, well, you won't. Why don't
Right.
you just quit your job and go back to whatever you're doing or
You
whatever?
believe what you say. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people, when they say that, I'm like, no, you are right. You're not going to get it because you fucking feel that way. And I know it sounds like a little woo of me to be like, if you genuinely believe in yourself, weird shit will happen. Again,
It does.
I have a grocery store talk show. That is not a real job. But I have that, and they pay me to tell people if chips are good. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I try to tell people that. I'm like, this didn't even exist before I did that specific one. But, like, there's an opportunity out there. If you have good ideas, you just have to keep trying. Like, yeah, do I wish I'd gotten wealthy and famous in my 20s? Of course. But, like, I don't know. I think people focus on the wrong things. Is what I'm kind of trying to get
it's
at.
funny, too, because those people that are like, I'll never get the job. If you're like, yeah, you won't.
I'm gonna get it
yeah.
because of your negativity.
Yeah.
It sucks. When I started acting, I'd never done any acting. I just was like, yeah, you know what? I can read English out loud in front of other people, and that was enough to get a lot of these jobs at first because like they'd get in their heads, and I'd be, pre-COVID, you would do like cattle call auditions, so you'd be like 15 people in a room and you'd read in front of other actors, which is, I imagine, incredibly nerve-wracking. But I just came in, I'm like, I don't know these people. I don't give a shit. And I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Worst case, I started the day at no. I showed up to maybe push it to yes. And who knows what's going to happen? And a lot of times if you just go there and you move beyond that no that you started with, so many doors open, dude.
I love that.
It's your confidence. You wore your confidence
Yeah.
like a shield of armor or something. And
Yeah.
that was probably what all of those other 14, 15 people did not have.
You would see these things because they would do it in like hotel lobbies. And you just see people like, okay, how do I motivate myself to say this like the character? I'm like, I think you're overthinking this. It's one line. And I get it. Those are the hardest ones because every so often you're like, oh, yeah, that's all the copy. And you're like, how do they want me to say? Is it like, oh, yeah? Or am I excited? Like, what is this person? And but yeah, I think the confidence helps. Sometimes I don't even feel confident. I feel maybe stupid.
Yeah, but then you just fake it.
It's almost just like I think it's like almost a weird apathy's not the right word, but like in a weird way, it's like I detach myself just enough to go in and be like, this is what I think I should do. I might be wrong, but that's cool. You know what I mean? Again, it's a numbers game. Just keep gambling. That's really what I'm trying to do is push gambling. Gamble with your future.
This episode's brought to you by.
If you have a gambling problem,
Right.
Keep trying because eventually you're going to hit.
And when you hit, you could always hit bigger.
That's right. Oh, my gosh.
That's so funny. Well, do you want to ask the famous question that we normally ask here?
Yeah, so to kind of conclude the podcast, a question that we ask at the end is, what's something that is out of your element, like outside of your comfort zone?
Oh, playing drums.
Really?
I would like to, but I think I'm handicapped, so my feet don't work right, so I could never do it. But I think that's out of my element. Physical labor, another one. I'm just trying to think of things I don't want to do.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, it was like physical labor is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
It's like any traditionally man stuff, that's really where I'm out of my element. They're like, oh, yeah, we just got to screw this in. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. We're beyond my knowledge here and expertise. I'm very glad I have way more talented friends who are willing to help me in that space. I'm like, if you'd like me to tell you a story about how great you did, I can do
Yes,
that.
yeah. I am right there with you on
I'm
that.
so the same.
It sucks.
So
Part of
the
the reason I
same.
got in entertainment was I was like, no math requirements really. And two, hopefully if this goes well, I can just hire people that actually know what they're doing rather than like, I remember growing up watching my parents like work on the house. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm handicapped right now because they don't ask me
Yes.
out very much. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
now as I'm older, I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. Eventually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
These hands aren't getting dirty.
no,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well manicured, we look good.
right,
Okay,
right.
that's what
Yeah.
our skill set is.
you're right. Well,
I
this
love
has been
that.
great. I love this conversation.
Yeah, thanks
we
for
could
having
keep
me.
on going on and on and on. I feel like we should be able to.
Let's be on your podcast.
I would love that. We'll figure out a whole
link it
bunch
up.
of snacks.
Yeah.
And we'll eat our way through the store. I think it'd be very fun.
Dude,
Oh,
I'd
I
love
would love that.
Yes, let's do it.
I'm open for any kind of pitches you guys have.
All
too, so
right.
let's do it.
You available tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately.
Well, this has been In Your Element podcast. I'm Randall Pink.
I'm Alex Grubbs.
And I'm Mark Borison.
Dude, it's been awesome.
Thank you for having me. I had a great
Thank
time. You guys
you.
are awesome.
Back up in my yellow. I get my grind on and my mind strong, I'm working. I clock in when the night's long, so much time gone, but it's worth it. I'm locked in, keep the lights on, got my mind on my purpose. It's working, I flourish, I earned it. Can't tell me